Parshas Noach. There is something fundamentally difficult to understand the story, at least the introduction of the story of the flood. If we examine the last verses of the Torah in Parshas, they state, Vayinochem Hashem ki oso es ha'adam ba'aretz vayis'atzev el libo. We can translate this as Hashem reconsidered creating man and was saddened in his heart. Vayomer Hashem, em che'es ha'adam asher barasi me'al pnei ha'adama. In spite of this, he decides to destroy mankind. Again, the verse emphasizes his regret. Em che'es ha'adam, and then he says, Ki nichamti ki asisim. I will destroy man because I regret having created him. The last pasuk is, V'noach matzah chen b'nei Hashem. One bright spot in this tragedy is Noach. Now, this seems like a description of a human condition, often indecisive, not considering fully the consequences of one's actions, only later to regret what one did. How does the Torah describe Hashem in these terms? There is no argument in Jewish philosophy as to whether to attribute omniscience to Hashem. There is no argument in Jewish philosophy that Hashem created the universe and in no way is limited by its rules. He is an eternal being, not bound by time and space. Therefore, it is safe to say that he was fully aware of how humans would behave after their creation. This needs a deep explanation. It would certainly give heretics support to deny Hashem's fundamental attributes. Now, we have to qualify this question. The fact that the Torah attributes anthropomorphic attributes to Hashem has been a philosophical issue until the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim wrote pages of interpretation to lay to rest the idea that Hashem has any physical attributes whatsoever. The Ravid forgives Jews making such an error because they read the Torah and one could draw such a conclusion. The Rambam, however, is not as forgiving. But if so, why does the Torah mislead us into thinking that he does? The answer is that our belief is that Hashem is totally sublime, but we cannot relate to him that way. We have to relate to Hashem as if he is one that has feelings, anger, despair, happiness. He has physical attributes such as fingers, a face, etc. We cannot relate to something we cannot fathom. That is why the word atah is mentioned so many times in our tefillas, in our prayers, as if to train us to imagine as if Hashem is standing in front of us and we are talking to him. These human qualities are positive in essence. Both our physicality and our emotions help us to carry out our life mission. However, here we are discussing a human frailty, a human condition not so positive. So to attribute it to Hashem would be somewhat condescending. Now Rashi initially avoids this whole issue and explained the verses not according to their simple meaning. He explains the term Vayinochem instead of reconsidered as he was consoled. What does that mean? Had he created man in the heavenly domain, they would have caused a rebellion of all the celestial beings. So he was consoled the fact that he created man on earth. Vayis'atzev, that he was distressed, does not mean he grieved but that he intended to cause mankind to grieve. Even remaining with the original interpretation of Vayinachem that he reconsidered, it could mean he reconsidered his attitude towards man. When he created man, it was Hashem Elokim. He added the attribute of mercy, knowing man could not survive being judged solely by the attribute of justice. Now that man exploited Hashem's kindness, he returned to the original attribute at creation. Mankind's destruction would awaken them to their exploitation. It was an enormous price to pay to destroy all those human beings in a flood. However, the direction of society required drastic change. Noach was the light at the end of the tunnel. We learn from this an important lesson. We cannot always judge from our life situation when things are going well that Hashem is pleased. Only He in His deep wisdom knows how long man's stupor can carry on without a cataclysm as a response. The fact that Hashem allows for the continued happiness of the Rishayim in this world indicates His endless kindness. When He reverts to the attribute of justice, mankind cannot survive. However, we also have to be aware that there is a consequence to this attribute of abundant kindness. Mankind sees no reason to reflect on their actions, their way of life, and so much time is wasted. Hashem is a master plan for mankind, especially the Jewish people. If we waste our lives based on a tranquil existence, we are benefiting from the happiness of this world, but neglecting the most important aspect of our existence, to live for perfection and prepare for the afterlife. Now, most of us spend lives in denial of this ultimate truth because of two reasons. One, we cannot conclusively prove in our present existence the truth of the afterlife. Secondly, we prefer to play it safe and go with what we can see. We convince ourselves to deny it because we are worried that we will miss out on the fun and joy of this world. All the restrictions that a religious life demands of us superficially contradict our dreams of ultimate fulfillment. I will answer this a bit later. At the end of Rashi's commentary, he actually attempts to resolve this contradiction. If Hashem knew that He would eventually have to destroy mankind, why create them? He quotes a medrash that a heretic approached Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. He asked, if Hashem knows the future, why did He despair over mankind's destruction? He answered that it is no different than a father having a child, knowing that someday he will die. Hashem also knew mankind would sin, worthy of destruction, and created them for their righteous children. However, Rashi's answer is difficult. The medrash he is quoting makes no mention of righteous children that will emanate from the evildoers. Secondly, the idea when a father rejoices, he rejoices. When he mourns, he mourns. When he rejoices, he rejoices. When he mourns, he mourns. That applies to a child, since a child serves no ultimate purpose other than causing his father happiness by giving him nachas, or sadness by not giving the father reason to be proud of him. However, Hashem knew most of mankind would not live up to their potential. He therefore created them for the prospects of their righteous children. Therefore, the concept of the medrash does not apply to evildoers. Hashem does not despair seeing the fulfillment of His ultimate plan. Therefore, the Mizrahi concludes that Rashi actually has two answers to the question. One is that the evil are similar to the dying children. They cause Hashem despair in the same way that the righteous give Him joy. The second answer why He created them is to fulfill their function of producing righteous children. However, the Gur Aryeh answers that Rashi's answer is one. Mankind bears children solely because Hashem commanded them to do so. Left with a choice, perhaps, that they would refrain from knowing eventually that their children would die. Therefore, their justification is the righteous. This purpose does not prevent Hashem from despairing over the evildoers who do not live up to their potential. Either way, we will learn from this a tough lesson. There are two elements to society in Hashem's plan. There are those who are the background, the backdrop of the world. They are not here for themselves. They live to perpetuate and promote the better ones. The Torah contradicts the American Constitution. All men are not created equal. Hashem chooses the best. Even in our most populous days, as Jews, we still are a relatively small portion of mankind. Today, what percentage of the world population is Jewish? What percentage of those is observant? What percentage of those is scholarly? What percentage of those spends their lives in total devotion to Hashem? One could ask, today's society has evolved over thousands of years. We were given a Torah that we have scrutinized and developed for thousands of years. We can understand Hashem's expectation of mankind, especially the Jewish nation. However, the ancients had no official code of law or sufficient time to develop principles of proper living. Why were they destroyed by such a cataclysm as a flood? Rabbi Nissim Gaon explains at the beginning of Brachos, Hashem designed mankind with proper instincts to discern right and wrong. Therefore, Hashem waited 26 generations to give us the Torah, to sharpen our spiritual instincts, to prepare ourselves for the ultimate code of spiritual life. The Gemara in Kesubos explains that if a Gentile child is adopted as a minor and converted, his conversion is not final until his bar mitzvah, when he declares his desire to be Jewish. Chazal were concerned, once one tastes the way of sin, unbridled passion, a life that lacks moral discipline, will not be able to tolerate a Torah way of life and want to return to his old life. Therefore, he has to wait until he is sufficiently mature to decide if he wants to be Jewish or not. It is absolutely imperative to grasp this point. Hashem designed the Torah to accommodate a whole array of different personalities. The Torah by no means is ascetic in nature. Our goal is not to deprive ourselves of the bounty of this world, but to elevate it by pondering its godly quality, His kindliness, and ultimately using these things in the service of Hashem. However, there is also a danger of indulging in the pleasures of this world beyond the necessary. This leads to what the Ramban describes as a menuvel b'shus HaTorah, a repugnant person who uses the Torah to indulge his base desires while remaining within the letter of the law. This again, although is permitted, defeats the ultimate plan for man to rise to a level of an angel in human form. He still gets reward for the learning of Torah and the performance of mitzvahs, but the timtum, the contamination of his body and soul, prevents him from experiencing a higher level of existence. He may not be able to rise from the mundane of this world and actually question the spiritual efficacy of the Torah. How was Avraham Avinu able to transform himself into a prophet? In spite of the fact that he had no association with the traditions of Adam and Noach, he trained himself not to let his desires and more animalistic instincts get in the way of the truths his mind had uncovered. And through this he was able to reveal the instincts of his soul, the yearning to get closer and closer to Hashem. He did not deny what he logically concluded because it would possibly hinder his happiness. His happiness would be the result of living up to the truths he perceived. However, even this great personality could not have influenced the world of people. With his ideology, hardened by extremely long lives, indulging every possible desire and instinct. So Hashem had to bring a flood, shorten the lifespan of mankind in order for them to reflect on living more purposely. Then a man of Avram's stature could have a greater influence on mankind, which brings us to next week's Parsha Yitz Hashem. Stay tuned.